Ẹ mà lẹ níbẹ̀ yẹn ò nílé lóko. Ẹ sì kú dédé àsìkò yìí. Hello everyone, it's Aderonke again. I hope your day is going well. Today I'd like to address the fact that ẹ ṣé, ẹ ṣeun, ó ṣé, ó ṣeun. These statements that you typically hear that are translated as thank you are not really thank you in and of themselves. And they even shouldn't be translated as thank you at all. So this is what they mean in and of themselves. Eshe is whatever this is that is not thank you that I will mention towards the end of this video. This is how you would write it. Eshe, eshe, and you would say if, well, you start the sentence with if the person that you're talking to is older than you, or if you're talking to two or more people. The way that Yoruba sentence construction works, especially when it comes to like pronouns and such, you address one person that is older than you like there are two or more people. For anybody who took my last group class, you may remember this. You address one person that is older than you as if they're two or more people, and we discussed why, the possible reasons why we do that in that group class. I will touch on it when I get to pronouns. So one person that is older or multiple people, you say eshe, and you can also say esheun. You can also say esheun. So they're not quite the same statement. I'll tell you why when I get there, but eshe, esheun. And if they're younger, one person that is younger than you, or if they are your age mate, let's say, you would say oshe, oshe. Whatever this statement is that is not thank you, you would say oshe. And you can also say osheun, osheun. So eshe, esheun, oshe, osheun. This is how we typically write these statements. Now, as far as wrong spellings are concerned, I've seen this. It's not one word, so don't write oshe like this, and don't write eshe like this. Don't write oshe. This is not the correct spelling of oshe. This is not eshe either. This is not it either. I've made this mistake myself, so I should cover my face. No, it's not that serious. The language wasn't a written language in the past, so you can even say, could it be this? Can you say eshe? No, it's just, well, I'll tell you why you can't write it like this. We've already discussed them briefly. They are age-based statement starters. For somebody that is older or multiple people. By multiple, I mean two or more, irrespective of their ages. And or if they are younger or your age mate. Now, she is a question starter. It's not quite what people intend it to mean when they write it this way, when they write eshe and oshe this way. She is a question starter. So she is a very versatile word. So it makes things easier. If you want to say did they see you, you would say she won. Did they see you? She won. And in this case, you'll be talking to somebody that is younger than you. If they're older, you say she won. If you remember from the group class, if you took the group class, you may remember. For the general public, for other people that didn't make it to the class, I will teach it on the Yoruba lessons for beginners series. She won. Did they see you? The she here is serving as did, so it's just a question starter. So it could be did you? It could be should you? It could be can you? It could be have you? It could be will you? Depending on the context, depending on, for the will, you may include ma, share ma, lo, will you go? So, depending on what you combine with it or what you omit, You know, it can be any question starter that you want it to be. If you want to say have you eaten, you'd say ṣé o ti jẹun. Ṣé o ti jẹun. Have you eaten? Ṣé o ti jẹun. So in this case it would be have. If you want to say should I come, you'd say ṣé kí n wá. Ṣé kí n wá. And in this case it would be should. You know, so it's ṣé is like ṣé is anything you want it to be. In and of itself, it's just a question starter. Is like, you know, it could be the equivalent of did, it could be the equivalent of have, it could be equivalent of should, it could be the equivalent of can, whatever you intend it to be. You know, it's a really good versatile question starter. In this case, it doesn't really work. It's not the proper way to write oshe or eshe. The she here is a question starter. It's not what people intend it to mean. So again, you wouldn't write it like this, of course, out of annoyance. There's the argument that the language was not a written language in the past, so anyhow you write it is permissible, but I mean, it has a structure now, just so that we can communicate better, especially in writing. I suppose it's not a terrible idea to pay attention to the grammar, not in a you know, if it's not this, then the world will crumble sense, but it just helps, I guess, you know, for better written communication. So don't write it like this. This is what we typically say, and this is how to write it. Oshe, eshe, oshe, eshe. This is what we typically say. This is the shrunk version of the main thing. This is the shrunk version. This is correctly spelt. Oshe, eshe. But this is what it is if it's not shrunk like this. If these two words are not shrunk into one, this is what it is. If you're talking to one person that is older than you, or two or more people of any age, one could be a 1-year-old baby and the other could be 79, doesn't really matter. As long as there are two people or more, you say eh. The trick to remembering Yoruba pronouns as far as age differences is concerned is we address an older person as if they are two or more people, as if they are multiple people. So if they're older, we treat them like they are two people in one, you know. So you use multiple, you use plural pronouns for them. Eshe is what it really is. But we say eshe or oshe. Eshe, 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 eshe. One older person or two or more people, irrespective of their ages, and you could also say esheun. Eshe and esheun are not the same. There's a difference, and I'll explain it soon. But they're not the same. One, if it's you start with if the person you're talking to is older, or there are two or more people. It's the plural pronoun. Plurals. If you're how you would start a sentence if you're addressing or talking to somebody that is older than you, or two or more people of any age, or if you're younger, you say oshe or oshe. This is the shrunk version. This is the version that is often said. Oshe. I'm starting to speak another dialect. Oshe, eshe, oshe, eshe. Oshe is what it really is if you don't shrink. one younger person or one person that is your age mate, o, then she, re, mi, she, o, she, o, she. If you want to shrink it though, when you're talking, the way that we typically do, you would say o, she. If you're younger, if they're older, or multiple people, eshe, eshe, esheun. Can also say esheun, oshe, osheun. This is how to write. These are the ways to write them correctly. If you're shrinking, oshe, eshe, eshe, esheun, oshe, osheun. These don't mean thank you. These don't mean thank you. So let's figure out what they mean, shall we? O, e, again, they are either of the two is a statement starter, age-based statement starter for addressing somebody. So if they are younger or your age mate, or if they're older or multiple people, e. Then she is do. She is do. This is for o sheun or esheun. She is do. In another context, it could be did. In another context, it could be doing. It could be anything. Our verbs don't change, irrespective of the tense. So you know that in the English language, the verbs change. So do, doing, did, whatever. Ours don't change. They stay the same. They don't change. So whatever, you can change the tense of a statement by inserting another word. So let's say you want to make a sentence a present tense sentence or present continuous tensed sentence. I don't even know if that's correct to say, but with that kind of tense, you would include mombo. If you include mombo, and the tone marks may also change, so that's another thing. With the insertion of a different word and the changing of tone marks, you can change on maybe, actually not necessarily, it's not all the time that the verbs will be the tone marks may change, but the verbs don't change anyway. The verbs, if you insert a new word, it could be a one-lettered word, it could be a two-lettered word, you can change. For people who took my group class, you may remember, you can change the tense, but the verbs stay the same. I said that. I spent too long saying that. On is a thing. On is a thing. On is a thing. O sheun, esheun. O she on is what it really is if you stretch it out and don't shrink. If you stretch it out and don't shrink, o she on, eshe on. And if it is o she and eshe that you want to say, but this is the expanded version, o she, eshe, o, see, and e statement starters. She is do. It could be did, it could be whatever, depending, but it's really do in and of itself. Perhaps I shouldn't have included this. And then e is it here. For people who took my group class, you may remember verb-vowel based pronouns and our formula for remembering them. Ani, moji, rire was the phrase that I gave you to help you remember it. Do, mi, re, mi, re. Do, mi, re, mi, re. Do, mi, re, mi, re. How is this it? Because e is not it in and of itself. Once a pronoun comes after a verb, the pronoun is determined by the last vowel in that verb. Once a pronoun comes after a verb, or a pronoun is to come after a verb, once a pronoun is to come after a verb, so in what case would a pronoun come after a verb? Do it. The it is a pronoun coming after a verb. See him. The him there is a pronoun coming after a verb. Kiss her. The there is a pronoun coming after a verb. So in those scenarios, you have pronouns coming after verbs. In the Yoruba language, the last vowel of that verb would determine what the pronoun would be, what the her in kiss her would be, what the him in see him would be. So do mi, re mi, mi re is the formula. It's the verb pronoun formula. Do mi, re mi, mi re. And I gave you ani, moji, ri re in our group class. I feel like we did cover quite a good number of things. I wish we had more time during the last group class that we had. She. See, if you ignore tones and your goal is perhaps let me just learn the basic Yoruba words and just anything that would help me in my spirituality, I suppose you'll be fine. But if you really really want to learn how to actually speak the language, not just learn 50 words and go about your day, learn 50 words and their supposed translations. So if I gave you key cards, for instance, and I said, what is it called? It could even be a PDF, and I tell you this means this, this means this, this means this, but I don't take the time to actually say, well, it doesn't really mean that in and of itself. Those are just English translations. Then, I won't really be serving you, I guess. If you really want to learn how to see him, do it. These are basic sentences. These are basic sentences, phrases. Whether you ignore it, whether you suspend it for as long as you can, you will find that you will still go back to tones. They are really crucial. She is do. Re, the last syllable, is a one-syllabled verb, like many of our verbs are. It's a one-syllabled verb. She, this has the re tone. There are no tone marks on it. So re, and it's re because it's not do. It's not she. It's not she. And it's not me. It's not she. It's not she. She would be this. She would be this, the question starter. But it's not she. It is she. So it's re. Re. That's the tone. Re. That it aligns with. Re. So I want to say, it means do, right? I want to say do it. Or if it made sense, do him or do her. It doesn't really matter. Do him or her or it. Our pronouns are not gender differentiating. Again, another reason why learning the Yoruba language is easy. A lot of things are just pretty straightforward. So it's not a gendered language. Even when it seems gendered and you say, oh, Oba, Olori, whatever, when you look at those words in and of themselves, they are not gendered. Oba is not king, it's not queen, it's a presider. Even Olori, although that's what these women are typically called, it's not necessarily feminine. So a lot of our words are not gendered. But that's, by the way, that's a different video entirely. You take the last vowel and you duplicate it. You put a hyphen here and you duplicate it. And then you put whatever tone applies on it and you pronounce it in that way. So, re, mi, see? Re, mi, do, mi. If it is do, you duplicate the last vowel and then you include the mi tone. If it is re, you duplicate the last vowel separated with a hyphen and you put the mi tone. If it is mi, you duplicate it and you put the re tone on it and you pronounce it accordingly. So she, re mi. This is duplicated. Re mi, re mi. Let me give you another instance. This is ba. What is ba? Ba is collect. Ba is collect. If I simply want to say collect it, this doesn't even have to include anything if I'm referring to somebody that is my age mate. So if I'm talking to someone that is my age and I want to tell them do it, I can say she, do it. If they're older than me, I would have to include e, because, or there are multiple people. Again, if you address one person that is older as if there are two or more people in one. As if there are two or more, okay. We talked about it in my group class. It's not that they are the ancestor or it's them and the ancestors, or it's them and the whatever necessarily. It's them and their higher self. There's a phenomenon around that we probably have to handle in a separate video. But you talk to them as if there are two people in one because you're honoring them and you're honoring their higher self. It's grounded in one or two other aspects of the culture, but that would be another video. That's a 30-minute video right there, a separate video. So let's not do that. You address one person that is older as if there are multiple people. So if there are two or more people or one person that is older, you include eshe. So, but if you're talking to your one person that is your age mate or one person that is younger, she, do it. Here as well. Ga, collect it. Ba. Why is this it? Why is this it? The same reason as this is it. The same principle. Ba is do. And then you duplicate the last vowel. Ba. This is a one-syllabled word. This is one letter. It looks like the English G and B, but this is one letter, B. If you've not seen my video on the Yoruba alphabet, please do, because you might be confused, like, how is this one letter? But it really is. This is one letter. So these are two letters. Ba, do, ba. You take the last vowel, you put a hyphen here, you duplicate it, and then you determine the tone that this would have depending on this. So because this has the do tone, ba, so do. You duplicate it and it becomes mi. Ba, do, mi, ba, collect it. It could be collect him. It could be collect her. If you think that makes sense in your context. It could be collect it. It doesn't really matter. Him, her, it doesn't really matter. You could be talking about your girlfriend and you could be talking about your phone, and you would be using the same pronoun for both. We don't differentiate. Ba, collect it. So, but we will talk about verb-vowel based pronouns later on in the Yoruba Lessons for Beginners series. So when we say oshe, or if you prefer to shrink, oshe or eshe, if you say this, you're not thanking, you're simply saying you did it. Oshe simply means, or Oshe if you want to shrink again. I may not remember to say it as we go on, but just remember. Oshe, Oshe, Eshe, Eshe, O, E. Statement starts as she is do or did. E is it. It's dependent on this. It means you did it. You did it. It's what it is. You did it. Eshe, Eshe, you did it. Oshe, Oshe, you did it. If you say Osheun or you say Esheun, irrespective of Osheun, Esheun, I've heard people say Osheun, Osheun. No, this is again, if you see my video on the alphabet, that would clarify. This is Faweli aramupe. Nasal vowel. Sheun, Osheun, not Osheun. Then you're not honoring the aramupe vowel that this is. This is Osheun, 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 Esheun. On is a thing. So if you say Osheun, you're saying you did something. Esheun or Esheun if you don't want to shrink. Osheun, Esheun if you don't want to shrink. But if you want to shrink, Osheun, Esheun, you did something is what it is. This Oshe means you did it. Osheun or Esheun would be you did something. So when you say Osheun and Esheun and Oshe and Eshe or Oshe or Eshe or Osheun and Esheun, irrespective of how you choose to say it, you're saying that to acknowledge, not thank. It's not to thank. When you say Osheun, Esheun, Oshe, Eshe or Oshe, Eshe, you're saying, I acknowledge what you've done. Well, you're insinuating, I acknowledge what you've done. Doesn't necessarily have to be for you. It could be like something else that they've done in general. Oshe, Eshe, Osheun, Esheun, Osheun, Esheun, Oshe, Eshe, Oshe, Eshe. Acknowledge what you've done. It's said to acknowledge, not thank. And the advantage of having a statement like this is that you don't really have to fake appreciation. You know, it doesn't mean that we are not thankful people, far from it, but you have the option of acknowledging. If you really do want to thank, however, you know that it's coming from a place of, well, you have the opportunity anyway to let it come from a place of sincerity. You know, if you now go on to say thank you, which would be Okpe. Okpe is thanksgiving, but whenever we offer it with our mouth, we say do Okpe. Do Okpe. Some people say da Okpe. Da is to give. It could be to bring forth. Because da is divide, it could be to... Da can also be divide. So it's sort of like to offer. To bring out from your share and then offer it. Or something like that is what it connotes. To offer, right, is what da is. Offer. Da ore. Da owo. Da... Ebu, da ajo, to offer, to bring, especially when like there's sharing, or like there's from your share or adding it to the share of other people. But when you use do is you're offering it, but you're saying it with your mouth. You're offering verbally. Do okpe, dupe. Da owo, dawo. You know, do. Some people don't know that do is actually a word. So they say it's da okpe, but it's do okpe. Do is with your, it's a, what dialect did do even come from? Who were the first set of Yoruba people to use do? Is it not the Oyo? Do can also be to slaughter. Do can also be to slaughter. The word has homonymal tendencies. I suppose that's why a lot of people think it can't possibly be do or pe. It's probably da or pe, and there probably was an error somewhere. No, do really is a word. So it would involve okpe when you really want to thank. But this gives you the opportunity to not pretend like you're really thanking. You have the opportunity to acknowledge. But that's not the reason why eshe or she existed in the first place. The reason why it existed was the Yoruba culture has been communal since its inception, even, since it became a thing, it has been communal. I suppose a lot of cultures within present day the African continent would relate, very communal, but not necessarily even European. I suppose in the very beginning, before we became self-sustaining to a degree, we're all very communal, but I suppose to degrees. With the Yoruba culture, we've always been communal, and we're very practical people. We're spiritual. We are just as good with words and poetry and metaphors and all that, but there's a certain level of practicality to the way that we talk as well, to our language. It's it can be very literal, and it can be very complex. It really depends on what it is that is being discussed, and like the context, I guess, and the persons involved, and perhaps if it's an association or whatever. And whether or not you're in public. So if you're a member of, let's say, the Ogboni, if you're in public but you really want to communicate with another member of your group, then you start to speak in codes. Things like that. I don't want to talk too much. I acknowledge what you've done is what eshe or eshe, oshe is. Acknowledge what I acknowledge it. You did something. It's funny how these things come full circle. It's going to say few circle, really full circle. Because I know that right now in America, if you do something, I know that people say you did that. You did that. Yes, and it's funny how that several centuries after sort of made it, is present in American pop culture, I suppose. And it's, it's black. It's from us. So, you did that. Yes, it's very similar to this, but not necessarily with the same excitement, not necessarily with the same enthusiasm, though. It's like, no. Then it was, aside from communal, people shared responsibilities. You knew what you were supposed to do depending on, let's say, your age or your position in the family or in the group. So you weren't really you didn't think of what you were doing as if you were like a favor, I suppose. For the most part, it was you just doing your duty. So somebody else would acknowledge you for it, acknowledge the fact that you've done this. It wasn't so much, oh, I thank you for doing this, or they would be doing something else that would benefit you anyway, and somebody else would be doing something that will benefit you both, and that person will be benefiting from what you do. If your job is to farm and do this, and your duty is to do this, during the day, or if duties signed, you just sort of know what to do. You see many there's a certain level of organization even to the way that we do chores, especially in Nigeria. Depending on your age, especially back in the day, you knew if it was your turn to sweep, if it was your turn to fetch the wood, or like in my family, I come from a family of wood sellers. So Paco, if you will be the one to kiri Paco, and all that. So apart from wood selling, we also did other things, but where I'm from, we sell wood. So we have a lot of I have a lot of ancestral thing with trees as well, just because like they've sustained my family, my generation, for centuries, for a long time. It's said to acknowledge, not necessarily thank. I acknowledge you for doing this, for performing your role. I suppose that's why even till now it's the most common, because you acknowledge. You're not necessarily thanking, you're acknowledging, But if you really want to thank, then you say mo dúpẹ́, adúpẹ́, dúpẹ́, 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 ṣọpẹ́, fọpẹ́. So mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ, mo ṣọpẹ́ fún ẹ, mo fọpẹ́ fún ọ, dúpẹ́, ṣọpẹ́, fọpẹ́. And if you're receiving the thanks, gbọpẹ́, mo gbọpẹ́. That has become something else now. So sad. Gbọpẹ́, you receive thanks, you receive the appreciation. Gba ọpẹ́. So it's not thank you, it is. I suppose in a different video I will cover how to actually say thank you, just so that we're clear on that. But in case somebody told you that I've probably made a video in the past where I said, again, for the longest time, I sort of had the inclination to say, okay, well, but that's not what it really is in and of itself. But I was, I suppose, a little bit more timid. For those who know, I never even used to put my face in my videos at all. And in the few times that I would wear masks or something, just because I was just super shy and super, I knew that it was my assignment, but I was timid. I guess I suppose we all go through that stage. So, but now I'm more, now I can't stick it anymore. I have to say, okay, well, this is not the perfect English, the English equivalent is not the perfect translation of this. This is what it really means in and of itself, just so that you don't lose the beauty that it contains. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your support. And I'll see you in the next one. Kamono sika, kamode sota,